welcome to another edition of Inside the Santa Fe Public Schools podcast. I am Joe Abeta, and today I have on a very old friend of mine. He is the new athletic director and for a while been the head coach for Santa Fe High School, Andrew Martinez. How you doing today, Andrew?
I'm good, Joe. It's always good to have you. I am going to make a slight correction, assistant athletic director, but I am in charge of Santa Fe High. We still have Christy as the main athletic director. I just want to make sure that's out there.
No, that's a problem. But you are the athletic director for Santa Fe High, right?
Yes,
there
I am.
You go. Yes.
You are technically, yes.
Yes, exactly. And so congratulations on that. I know that for folks that don't know you, and it's really hard to believe anybody that wouldn't know you in our community, but you have lived here all your life. You've given yourself to this community for a long time now. What does it mean now? I mean, you're now, you've been the head coach now for Santa Fe High football.
This is 8 years.
8 years. Wow. That's a long time. How long? That might be, is that the longest?
I think Coach Holiday was around 6-7 years. I don't know prior to that, but it could be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to think about it because I don't want it to end. How's that?
Well, no, I got you. I mean, and let's talk about that a little bit, man. You come into a program, you have to put in the culture, right? You have to bring your culture in, and I think you've done that with this team, going and visiting, practices that you guys have and covering you guys, for your entire stint here at Santa Fe High. I've noticed that there is a culture. It's a caring culture, right? It's a culture that nurtures these athletes, makes them good citizens, right?
Yeah.
In our community. You guys do a lot in the community too as well. As far as the improvements to the facilities, you've done that to have some team pride as well. Let's talk about that, man. How has that been? How's that evolution been for these last 8 years?
Well, Joe, 25 years coaching. Started coaching in the year 2000.
Uh-huh.
So this will be year 25. I have a passion for football. I have a passion for kids. I'm sorry I'm late today, but I was preaching to our kids for about 15 minutes, and I'm running off the field, Joe. I'm not a runner. I got a horrible knee, but I had to get here, and our coaches and our kids were teasing me, telling me about technique walking as they're walking up the ramp there. But Joe, and our staff, I firmly believe that culture is everything, and you can be 14-0. It doesn't mean you have a good culture. You can be 0-10, and you can have a great culture. It's about teaching young men and young people the value of who they are. There's a bigger purpose in their life. Everybody has tough situations and tough families, or it doesn't matter what your demographics are. There's people that need help. And it might be organizations, it might be individuals, whatever it is. We're out there to try to help people and let these young men know that in life, you got to serve. You got to be selfless, and things will fall into place. But doing something good for somebody else is, to me, it's just the biggest reward. And when people you see how grateful they are with our kids, and you hear they're respectful and they're helpful. We're just trying to grow young people with that, and I'm so lucky to have a staff of 15. I have 14 coaches, and I have Coach Chris, and Coach Chris is totally dedicated. You might have seen him at Sam's. Now he's at Albertsons. But they're all in it for the right reasons. And that means the most. It really does.
It's interesting, not interesting, but I thought it was nice to see you had a huge group. You know, the last couple of years, you've had a huge participation for summer program. A lot of kids coming out. And I think that's something, that reflects the program of kids wanting to go out and be a part of the team, be a part of the Santa Fe Demons. How has that been? I know because what did you guys start out with? I mean, as far as like your first year, do you remember that?
Funny thing is, I just had this discussion as I'm preaching to our kids, and to our coaches. We came in, and my first meeting. We had 17. We had 17 kids in that first meeting.
Wow!
And I think that year we ended up probably 28, 31 at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But our numbers always continue to grow. And I believe and I hope that parents or guardians want their sons or daughters, whoever it is, to come play for us because we're teaching them a little bit more than football. Football's hard. It's a very tough sport. It's a violent sport. It's a collision sport. But at the same time, I feel that no matter how hard it is, how sore you are, how much you don't want to do things, we want to make practices in that environment where that's a place where no matter what the day is, they have people to lean on, and their parents know that as well. We're not perfect by any means, and just like anywhere else, there are gaps where we still got to fill and we got to work on. But as long as we're cognizant of that stuff, Joe, we're probably going to be about 110, 115 this year.
Wow.
And what a great problem to have, but it comes with challenges too. I mean, it's a lot of kids that you really have to watch, but that's why we have a big staff.
It seemed, and you know my story about the Demons, being a Catholic school kid all the way to 8th grade, and then having to come to Santa Fe High the first time, because I didn't go to St. Mike's, I went to Santa Fe High, and there was this camaraderie of, the first day of showing up to summer program. And by, day 2, I was sold, that I wanted to be a part of this group, and I wanted whatever it took for me to be there, whatever the coaches asked, whatever it was for me to be more part of the pack, if you will. I felt like I belonged at Santa Fe High within the second day there. Probably the first day, but I'm just, for purposes of coming back the second day. And I know that football, especially Santa Fe High football, and football programs probably all around the nation, but there's always room for you to be a part of something bigger, part of a brotherhood, or to come in and they'll welcome you, and if you feel like you want to belong to something bigger than yourself, then football is a great sport, because yes, it is, it's a collision sport. But at the same time, it teaches you about life lessons, right? About having to work hard to be successful, about having to be there to perform as a team, because if you don't get your block or if you don't know your plays, you're going to let everybody else down on the field, right? Yeah. And so it's a life lesson. And so I always learn that. And that's what I love about football is there's just really just a camaraderie that is very unique to the sport.
Okay, so there's a couple aspects I'm going to touch on there, and I might jump around, but just to piggyback off what you just talked about, Joe, we tell kids and young people, like, you're going to get knocked down in life, you got to get back up, no matter how hard it is, no matter what the odds are, you still got to get up, and hey, in football, you're going to get knocked down, and you got to get back up, and so that's a perfect example there. But Joe, growing up, it was Santa Fe High School. Yeah, I was just at the NMAA yesterday for some meetings for my new position, and you go in that office, and they have the scoreboard for Majors Field, the football scoreboard. It's up in that office.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, D-Mans, it's there. And I remember going to Majors Field with my mom and dad watching some games. I remember when they upset Highland on their state championship run, and all I remember, and I was I was 6 years old. I was 6. And I remember, I think Highland was ranked number 1 or something, and they beat him. And I remember the Highland watching this as a young man, a young person. They were shocked. And they were throwing their helmets on the floor and the celebration. And then I remember going over there and kicking field goals with my mom and dad. And I always wanted to be a demon. You know, I remember the first game at Ivanhead. They're playing El Dorado. It's Jim Everett. My grandpa takes me to that game. My grandpa and grandma, my aunt, and I'm on top of the bleachers, and I've never been that high in my life, and they took my breath away.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good night for the Demons that night because it was the year after they won state.
Yeah.
To me, and I know I went to Capitol High.
Yeah.
I went to Santa Fe High my freshman year because I always wanted to wear that blue and gold and have that demon on my helmet. But that wasn't the plan God had for me in life. I needed to be at Capitol High, and I met great friends, and I did things there that I'm so proud of.
Yeah.
But in my heart, it's about Santa Fe High and being a demon.
Yeah.
And I just want that program, and our staff wants that program, and our school and this community needs that program to be successful.
Uh-huh.
And you can quantify success in a lot of different ways. But we want to be successful, and we want to have pride in Santa Fe High football and athletics.
That's awesome, man. So that brings me to my next question. Now that you're the Demon AD, what is your vision for Santa Fe High sports?
The same thing it is for our football program. Mm-hmm. I want us to be unified. I want us to be the best hosts we can be. I want teams to come in and feel like they are going. They're going to be in for a dogfight, but they're going to be treated really well. From every coach to everybody greeting, spectators, to the sportsmanship, to the way we treat officials, to the way we treat administrators and other teams, and to be a unified athletic staff and have unity in our programs, because I feel everything's so specialized, and everybody wants to specialize, and everybody just cares about their own sports. But I think as the educators there, the teachers that are there, they want those things. It's just trying to find the path to get there, and we're all going to have to sacrifice, and we're all going to have to do things that we're not used to, but it's going to be for the greater good. And I just want Santa Fe High to have that reputation. I mean, I'm going to, and probably people are going to be like, oh, guys, there's Angie talking about Artesia. Yeah. And that's probably because my wife, and I spent some time down there with their coaches, and I respect that program and the way they run things, and from Cooper Henderson. And you go down there, mm-hmm. and you're treated like a king, mm-hmm. as an opponent. Mm-hmm. But boy, on that field, it's a different ball game. Yeah. And even on their courts and everything. And then at the end of the game, you're treated like a king again. Yeah. And really, there's no reason in this community that we can't have that. Yeah. And it's it's going to be a process.
Yeah. It's interesting because traditionally in our community, we're known for wanting people to come over to our house and showing hospitality and, serving them food. Ah, come on by my house, man, have some dinner or something like that. That's what we grew up with here. Yes. Right? Yep. And so it's something that it's a lost art, I think, because everyone gets caught up in the game, the competition, and the little things when people come visit you are the things that matter to them the most. Yes. Right? When you do go someplace. And I did notice about your, it's been, Marcia, your wife, she is working to from day and night, and especially on game day, taking up everything up there to the press box, and feeding the referees and the coaching staff and the media and all that. But I'll tell you, it doesn't go unappreciated. That's for sure. And that's the things like, wow, man, this is pretty awesome. And it happened every home game, right? It happens every home game. So I know you can't do it by yourself because you got other stuff you're focusing on, and it's great when you do have staff, because you do have a lot of staff. It's definitely out there helping with pregame, helping with guest services, because now there's guest services, right? Yeah. And so it's pretty incredible. And so you're hoping that can spread out through all the sports, right? Correct.
Okay, first we want to make everything an event over there. Mm-hmm. We want to make it big. We want people to enjoy things, and that starts with the little things. And you're talking about my wife, who everyone refers to as Miss Marcia. It's funny because our coaches are, hey, Miss Marcia. The other day we're in a meeting here, and somebody referred to her as Miss Marcia, and I just think I'm so proud and I'm so blessed to have her in my life, because Joe, when you say she works day and night, she works day and night.
Yeah.
If I'm up till 12:30 or 1 in the morning, I'm telling her to go to bed.
Yeah.
No, she's working on stuff for football, and she loves it. She does it because she loves the kids. She loves the staff. She loves being a part of it. She loves her parents. And I unequivocally will say, and I told your brother this before, there's no way I could do it without her.
Yeah.
Without that support and without everything she does and the love and the support. Because we sacrifice a lot, and we make hard sacrifices, but we love it, and we know, and that's our purpose, and that's her purpose, and she's my rock. When I'm down, she has my back.
Yeah.
She talks me down the ledge sometimes, or she, she's like, hey, I saw this in practice, or I heard this in practice, and she's there. She's like, she's my AD.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, and I love it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this too. I mean, Santa Fe High in the last, what did you say? Maybe, I don't know, 7 years, maybe even 10. There's been a lot of improvements to the sports facility.
Yes.
Like baseball getting new turf. The new softball field that happened like a few years ago, the tennis courts, and now
scoreboards, the basketball goals,
football turf,
that there is, starts with the leadership up top. It starts with Larry Chavez. It starts with Christy Wagner, who is the deputy superintendent of operations and the district athletic director. It starts with it's the school board. It's the community and the bonds. They're putting facilities and upgrading facilities for, one, safety.
Yeah.
Two, we have a lot of data facilities around this district, and they're taking care of schools, and they're taking care of those things, and we're in a position where those things matter to kids, they matter to parents, they matter to coaches, they matter to communities, and everybody gets pride in those things. Everybody has that pride. I have former players going, Coach, that turf. Why couldn't we have that turf? And that's a process, and but they're excited, and that's what it's all about. It's about the kids. It's not about trying to. It's spreading the wealth, and it's just taking care of our students.
Yeah, and it's I'd say the crown jewel of the North for sure as far as facilities go. Definitely. I mean, Santa Fe High always has been the crown jewel of the football field itself is just like, there's no other football field like it.
It's a horseshoe.
It is.
It's a bowl. You got the weight room.
Yep.
I mean, Joe, I know everyone talks about the Bulldog Bowl, and they have a couple of things that we don't, but man, that bowl, that stadium, that horseshoe, it's special.
Yeah.
And that arena, and I call it an arena because that's an arena. That basketball gym, Toby Roy Ball, is an arena.
Yeah.
It's a place to hold events.
Yeah.
And growing up, those stadiums and those arenas were full, and that's what we want. That's what we're all striving for.
Yeah. No, definitely. I want to hit on something that's huge news. It's kind of breaking news in our last 10 minutes or so that I think is huge. And I want to talk about the middle school football programs now.
Yes, sir.
Where you guys are now able to, a middle school program is not going to happen anymore. They're doing away with the school football, middle school football programs, and now allowing the 8th graders to be able to option to go and play for the C team at Santa Fe High or at the high schools, right? Capital and Santa Fe.
Correct. And, Joe, that was a very tough decision to make. There were circumstances where we just didn't have enough coaches to properly keep kids safe. We exhausted all efforts for because we want feeder programs because there's pride in Milagro, there's pride at Ortiz, there's pride with the Tritons, and as I'm talking to a principal last night, and I'm trying to assure her that we're going to take care of her kids, and even her 7th graders, and figure out a way to include them. She was like, I was going to be sad at the parade without our football players. And that's like, though, that hit me. It hit me hard.
Yeah.
But those discussions will help us to support those kids and those schools. And the NMA a few years ago had started allowing 8th graders to play high school. Yep. And so that opened the door. But so yes, all feeder schools for Santa Fe High, which is Milagro, which is Gonzales, Ortiz, El Dorado. Mandela's kind of split up too. If they're districted for Santa Fe High, the 8th graders can come play C team. Mm-hmm. If they're one of the feeder schools from Capital, they can go ahead and play C team. We're also talking to local youth leagues for anyone that doesn't want to for 7th and 8th grade. And there's a flag option out there as well for USA Flag. We want them to stay engaged, and we got to think outside the box to include them because it's as Mr. Larry Chavez had said, when you have a good football program and basketball program, your communities and your schools are better. And that's research. I've read that before, and I think we've all read that before. Yep. So that aspect just got taken away from those middle schools. So we have to make sure we continue somehow to support those things.
But what an amazing opportunity to be able to be in middle school as an 8th grader.
Sign me up.
And walk over or drive or whatever, and afterwards you go to practice at Santa Fe High and you put on a Demon practice uniform.
Man.
Or you put on a Capital Jaguar uniform. Can you imagine?
No.
That was just, I know that our age, when we were in middle school, we played on the Yaffle team.
Yeah.
You were on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I was on the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But to be able, everyone was just talking about, hey, next year when we go and we play for the Demons or we play for St. Mike's or whatever. But now to be able to start, so that's good as far as the kids go, because then what you're doing is you're buying into the culture of the school as well.
Correct.
So that's that, right? You feel safe about going wherever high school you're planning on going to. You're planning on going from middle school and you're going to Santa Fe High and say, well, I've already been there. I've been on campus many times. I had to go there for game day. I know the kids there. I have no anxiety about going from the transition from middle school to high school. So there's a plus right there. And then also for the program to have a kid or student athlete play, know the system, learn the foundation of the offense and the defense as an 8th grader, that extra year. By the time they get into sophomore, junior, senior year, they know it like the back of their hand. Sounding like another school in our community, right?
Yeah.
Where they get a hold of their kids.
Yeah.
Their kids start early and they start to know the offense and the defense early.
Correct.
So by the time they get to their junior, senior year, sophomore year, they know it well enough where it's not teaching anymore. It's just about them executing it now, right?
Correct. And as we just had this discussion with our team, we have 17 and 18-year-old young men, and there's going to be 13 and 14-year-old young men in there. And we got to take care of them. We got to watch out for them. As coaches, we got to watch out. If our culture is good and we take care of them, they're going to feel safe, and their parents are going to feel safe. And but you just said something, and I remember my freshman year, freshman practice on the baseball field. JV and varsity was on the which is now the soccer complex. Yep. I just remember our first day in pads and hearing what was going on and all the thumps and the yelling and the screaming.
The cracks.
in 1988.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, could that be a little intimidating? Sure. But we're going to bring him along at the proper pace. But, and here's the positive of this, Joe. They're going to be taught positional wise every single day, drilled the same way every single day.
Yep.
There's an on-site trainer. There are just more resources at the high schools than there are at junior highs.
Yep.
And so the safety thing, the equipment's, is really good. The district's been awesome. We have a great booster club that also supplements things.
Yep.
But, there's positives that go along with this. And I don't know what next year entails. In a perfect world, you have feeders, but you have the same structure at those schools and the same support. And that's what we have to find in the middle schools to have that pride. And so they have that pride in their schools as well.
I'll tell you this, man. You speak of pride. I remember when I got my first Demon practice jersey. You remember that day?
Absolutely.
The next day, man, I was wearing it around school, and it was like the coolest thing, wearing it around the city. I didn't care where we were going. I was walking through Skaggs Alpha Beta or whatever for the groceries or Food Emporium back in the day, and I was wearing my Demon practice jersey. I wanted everyone to know I was a Demon, and it was just so amazing, right? Because you just think everybody's looking at you, and they're like, I'm a Demon, and it was a huge deal. And to be an 8th grader and to have a practice jersey, a Demon practice jersey, to be able to go back and to middle school the next day wearing that and knowing that you worked for it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That you went through all the drills, that you had the blood, sweat, and tears of earning that practice jersey to be able to wear that, and the pride of wearing that, and the responsibility of wearing it by being a good student in the classroom, being respectful, and being an example for the other student body, your other, peers.
Yep.
That's a huge deal right there. So what a win for the school district on that.
It is, and I'm telling you, nothing like wearing your jersey game day to school.
Yes.
Also, we just talked about the educational side of it. I just told our guys, school starts tomorrow. We're going to attack school. We're going to attack our classes. We're gonna take care of business in the class. We're gonna take care of business around campus. But everything, no matter what challenges we're gonna face, especially school-wise, because things change school-wise. There's so many distractions. There's so many different things that happen in school. We talked about attacking school. We talked about having a bad day and coming to practice with your family and your teammates, and that's where you have support. That's where you have love. You're gonna be able to forget that for a little while, and find your purpose and your salvation, because that has to be our safe environment and our place where we can always be there for each other. And there's so much more, Joe, that it's not just about football. There's just so much more in life. And as you get older, you get a little wiser. When I'm 20 years old, I'm screaming and I'm yelling, and all that matters is football, 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 football. Yeah. But it's a little different as you get a little older and wiser. Yeah.
No, that's true. That is true. Well, Coach Andrew Martinez, athletic director of Santa Fe High, we've come to the end of our show, man. I want to appreciate you spending some time with us, man. It's always a pleasure.
I love it, Joe, and I think congratulations on your new job here.
Oh, thanks.
You're killing it already. You're rocking it, and they got the right guy for this. And what a perfect job and a perfect person for your position, Joe. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, folks, for listening to the podcast today, folks. Have a safe week. Have a great week. This has been the Inside Santa Fe Public Schools podcast. Adios.